Tia Mowry so strong and independent she bought her own ticket to bus downtown.
Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.
Now, after watching this interview, it's clear to me that Tia Mowry is clearly being misled by the Jezebel spirit. Now, the Jezebel spirit will have a woman thinking only about focusing on herself and not thinking about taking care of the needs of her husband and her family. And when I listened to Tia Mowry make the statement that she wanted to start to focus on her happiness, that clearly showed me that she was being misled by the Jezebel spirit, who wants her to go out here thinking that she's participating in so-called self-love, not understanding that this demon is insidiously taking her down a road to self-destruction. Because what this demon wants most women to do is talk about focusing on themselves and not thinking about their role as a helpmeet in God's natural order. Now, the Most High made women to go out here and serve men as their helpmeet, and he also made them to go out here to care and meet the needs of their children. But the Jezebel spirit, what it wants a woman to do is focus on herself, and as she's out here focusing on herself, what she's doing is neglecting the needs of her husband and her child, and going out here and thinking about living life like a single woman. That's what the Jezebel spirit is going out here doing with your Tia Mowry, misleading her off a road with the Most High onto the wide road of sin. And as she's on this road, she's thinking that she's going on a way that is right, but the way she is going on is leading to her spiritual death. Because when she went out here and filed for divorce for Corey Hardick, she basically went out here and started walking off the road with the Most High God, who she says that she serves as a Christian, and then started going out here to go walk on the dark road to the world. Now, your Tia Mowry says that she went out here and went into therapy and came to these conclusions, and this has me agreeing with Ringo as related to how some of these therapists work in doing the work of the devil. Because any therapist who would go out here and tell a woman to go out here and not take care of her marriage and try to meet the standards of the covenant she agreed to with the Most High, that's a person who is working for the devil. And this demon, along with the demon that is influencing Tia Mowry, this Jezebel spirit that I believe got into her because she's afraid of getting older, this is the demon that's driving her to go out here and walk down a dark road, which is going to take her on to the place known as BUSTDOWN. Now, your Tia Mowry is sitting here thinking, oh, I need to go out here and focus on making myself happy. And again, I believe this whole motivation is out of fear of her own mortality, because during the pandemic, she was on Instagram and we were seeing pictures of her with this graying hair, and she saw several family members winding up passing away, and it's that fear of her own mortality that has her out here looking to go out here and call herself looking for so-called happiness. And that's the road that has led to many women winding up on a road to self-destruction. Because as those women go out here and leave their husbands and eventually will wind up leaving their children, they go out here looking to try to meet this emotional need for happiness, but all they do is wind up in more misery, because as they continue to go on this road looking for so-called happiness, they never find any sort of satisfaction. And that's the road your Tia Mowry is on right now, looking for so-called happiness, but is not going to find any happiness, because what this demon, the Jezebel spirit, will do is have her going out here in the world chasing all sorts of different things. And as she's out here chasing different things, her spirit is going to become less and less fulfilled, and it's going to be lusting for more and more, because that's how insidious this demon is. This demon will preys on a woman's insecurities, and as it preys on this woman's insecurities, it has her out in the world further and further away from the Most High, who would have gone out here and met all of her needs. That's what this demon does. It goes out here and it makes you think, oh, you're not finding any sort of peace, happiness, or satisfaction when you're running away from the very place where you had peace, happiness, and satisfaction. Because the only place where you're going to live the abundant life is where Tia Mowry was living before she filed for divorce, because in that home with her husband, and she was under the covering of the Most High and the man that she married, and she walked away from that covering of that husband and the Most High God in order to go out into the world looking for happiness, not understanding that she's on a road to misery. Because as I listened to the nonsensical statements she was making, it's just clear to me that she's not spiritually right, because she's sitting there talking about how all these things led up to her divorce, but she considers her marriage a success. That's some Arkham certified logic right there. How can a marriage be a success if you are filing for divorce? Critical question I would like to ask your Tia Mowry, who has gone off the deep end because she's possessed by this demon, who has her believing, oh, that your marriage is a success, even though you're divorcing a man who never abused you, never cheated on you, never disrespected you. You consider the marriage a success when you're divorcing this man, when a marriage is a failure if you have to file for divorce. No, women who have successful marriages don't go out here and divorce their partners. No, they stay with their partners, because in that marriage they are finding satisfaction. And the only reason why a person divorces another partner is because either they are not satisfied, or they wind up being misled, like your Tia Mowry is, sitting here believing that I'm going to walk away from a successful marriage in order to find so-called happiness. When I hear her story, it fits a lot of the things I say in my book, The Woman Crisis. And when I look at Tia Mowry, what she's looking for is to go on this quest for a better deal, where she will be in her so-called self-love, where she will find so-called happiness, but at the end of that road, she's not going to find anything but a raw deal, and she's going to find herself alone in a place called BUSTDOWN Town. Now, BUSTDOWN Town is a residence where all of these women who once had successful marriages, promising careers, they wind up losing all of this, and they wind up in this place where they're all alone, vulnerable to Satan's temptations, and after they have been used and abused by the world, they find themselves in this complex where they're sitting there with a nice view of the graveyard, and that's where they're sitting there waiting for their lives to end. And what's really sad here is that your Tia Mowry walked away from an abundant life with her husband, Corey Hardick, and their 2 children, and walked away from being under the covering of the Most High in a home that they built together, to walking down this wide road to BUSTDOWN Town. And sadly, she was the one trying to be Miss Independent. She's out here bought the ticket to take the trip to BUSTDOWN Town that many women wind up going there unintentionally. She, with intention, is going out here and putting in the ticket to take the trip to Bust Downtown, and she wants to go to a place where she's sitting there talking about knowing her worth. Well, when you get to Bust Downtown, Tia, your worth is going to drop by 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace value, because in Bust Downtown, when you are a divorcee with 2 kids, your social marketplace value drops all the way down to a $5 food stamp without the book. And that's what happens when you go out here and let the devil deceive you into believing you're going to find self-love and so-called happiness. No, there isn't going to be any happiness in your life at this point. No, it's not going to be nothing but misery, because I've heard this story over 100 times when I was doing research for Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, the first book I wrote regarding women like Tia Mowry back up in 2014, and in 2022, when I was doing my research for The Woman Crisis, I read hundreds of stories of women who, like Tia Mowry, wanted to be so-called happy, and what they did as they left their husbands, they didn't find empowerment. No, all they found themselves was being turned out on the cock carousel by a bunch of 20-something or 30-something guys who basically used them for a place to stay, and after they turned them out, they wound up in Bust Downtown. Again, 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original marketplace social marketplace value. And in that place, they were basically miserable in the company of other old bust downs as they were sitting there looking out at the graveyard, counting down the days until they would wind up with their final reservation in that cemetery, with their tombstone being their last epitaph in this life. And again, it's really sad that your Tia Mowry put herself on this road that your Halle Berry, your Vivica Fox, your Lisa Ray, and Stacey Dash, and many others are on. She basically is getting ready to join all of those contemporaries in Bust Downtown, and she's made herself into a bust down deliberately, not ever counting her blessings that she doesn't have to wind up miserable in the company of all of these other women. That is the most troubling thing to me about this, outside of the fact that she's sitting there talking about how she's basically eager to be a single mom, when most single mothers, they would be out here eager to go out here and be in a marriage like her, and eager to have a man like Corey Hardick at their side, who is out there actively engaged in their children's lives. Many of those same single moms that I live in the Bronx with, they would happily have traded places with Tia Mowry, and they would have eagerly went out here and said, oh, if that man is available, they're going to go grab him up. And your Tia Mowry sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just going to be able to co-parent and have my life and be able to travel. No, that's not how it's going to work, because your insecurities are going to start flaring up even more once you see Corey further start to do better than you, once you start to see this man start to go out here and start really making some serious bank, and when he starts going out here and starts seeing other women, now that he has that opportunity because you went out here and are possibly looking to just, again, participate in adultery in your own heart, you want to go out here and have that life outside of the Most High. And again, you're talking about how you want happiness. No, there's not going to be any happiness at the end of that road. And again, when you walk away from a successful marriage, you're walking on a road to failure, because when women wind up divorcing, they don't wind up getting married again for a second time and finding that happiness, because the problem is they don't have any spiritual peace from within, and they don't have any spiritual peace because their souls aren't right. And your Tia Mowry's soul is going to get a lot worse, because she's still got soul ties to Corey Hardick, and she's still got these soul ties and these spiritual ties. and she's never going to find happiness because she has walked away from the Most High. She has walked away from the man she had a soul tie with. She has walked away from the spiritual foundation that her parents gave her, and now she's following some psychobabble from some therapist who's telling her it's about self-love. But when I look at her actions, they are all the actions of someone who hates themselves, because only a person who hates themselves wants to go out here and sabotage a successful marriage. Only a person who hates themselves wants to go out here and sabotage a family that is functional. Only a person who feels like they don't deserve the life that they have will go to these lengths to go out here and destroy that life. And that's what I have seen from my years of research when I went out here to write books like Why 70% of Black Women Are Single and The Woman Crisis, and even my other men's issues books in the Simp series. The kinds of women who go out here and file for divorce and disrupt a functional marriage, and go out here and talk about looking for happiness. These women, they are not happy with themselves because their spiritual foundation is completely damaged, and it's damaged because they've allowed a demon to come in. And I believe, again, the demon came in because Tia Mowry fears her own mortality. She fears getting old. She fears her life ending, not understanding that she is in a blessed place because this life in and of itself is a temporary thing, and the only reason why we're in this life is to go out here and receive God's gift of salvation that the Messiah is offering, and we are here to do whatever work the Most High and the Messiah have for us. We're not supposed to be focused on this life and finding happiness in this life, because we're going to find perfect peace when we leave this world and be in the presence of the Most High. And this is why it says in the Psalms that the day of a man's death is better than the day of a man's first in life, because that day of death is the day that man or woman goes back to the Most High, and that is the greatest day a person could have in this life, because if you fulfilled all of your work that you're supposed to do on earth, you are in perfect peace. And once you are in perfect peace with the Most High, you are not really worried about what you've done in this world, because you know you've already met the standards of the Most High. But sadly, your Tia Mowry, she has wound up losing all her spiritual walk with the Most High, and she's gone out here, walked away from the God she used to serve in order to go back to a world hoping to try to recapture the energy of her youth, hoping to recapture her past, hoping to be young and get her so-called turn. No, we get one turn in this life, and when we do our work with the Most High, we don't have to worry about getting a turn, because we did everything according to the Most High standards, and that's all that matters in this life. And again, when I look at Tia Mowry, she's out here looking to go out here and get a so-called turn. And again, she's turned her family upside down and doesn't even know she's on the road to getting turned out by a bunch of predatory males and females. Because the only thing that happens when women get their turn, from my years of research, is they get turned out and they wind up in BUSTDOWN. And as they're in BUSTDOWN, they're living miserable in the company of other busted women who have basically thrown their whole lives away, have vaginas with odometers that say to be continued, and are sitting there miserable looking for a good man, or reminiscing about the good man that they threw away, hoping to go out here and get a better deal. But at the end of the day, they wind up with a completely raw deal. And sadly, they wind up not only losing everything in this life, but they also wind up losing everything in the next life, because they reject God's gift of salvation for some so-called happiness. But there's nothing at the end of that road. There's no happiness at the end of that road. No, you're just going to be miserable in the company of the demon. that misled you, and as you wind up on the road to hell with your good intentions, you're sitting there wondering how you wound up in this place, because that's what happens to many of those women looking for that happiness. They wind up in a place worse than they ever were, wondering how they wound up here in the first place. Now, if you want to learn how to avoid being like Tia Mowry, which is going on the road to bust downtown, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis on other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to learn why women like Tia Mowry wind up 70% single in the black community, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it on other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available for the first time in paperback, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Learn all the reasons why so many black women can't find a husband and why 70% of black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today.